I'm Kandia with Kandia Haynesworth Designs. Thank you so much for joining in today. I had the pleasure of meeting with a candidate for the 2018 State Senate election, and she is considering hiring my company to do some of her promotional wear for her campaign. In my presentation, I attempted to explain the process of machine embroidery applique, and so I thought I would do a demonstration on how this is done. So join me in my studio as I demonstrate the process of machine embroidery applique. Okay, so we are in my studio, and I thought the best way to show you how this is done is to do it on an actual order. And so when we think about an applique, we know that it's a patch. We think about a standalone patch, something sort of like this, right? And so that means that this is a patch, and to sew that onto a garment or to a bag or a tote bag or something like that, you need your needle and thread or your sewing machine. This is quite the opposite. The patch is actually going to be sewn directly onto the garment using the embroidery machine. So here are the steps that this is going to go through. The first step is going to be the placement outline. And so the embroidery machine is going to stitch an outline of where the fabric is going to be placed at. And then I'm going to apply the fabric where the outline is going to be, like so. And then it's going to stitch another outline, which is going to be your tack down stitch. At that point, you are going to cut the excess fabric around the outline of where the tack down lines is going to be. Then the embroidery machine is going to semi-permanently tack down the raw edges of where you cut the excess fabric, and then it's going to move on to the final step of embroidering the applique patch with satin stitches. Now, some embroidery machine appliques, you can actually finish it off with a zigzag stitch or a ragged edge stitch, but this particular embroidery design, we are using a satin stitch. Let's do it. Okay, so the embroidery machine is going to tack down an outline placement to show me where to put the fabric. And now you must stop your machine in between these steps. Okay, so here is your placement outline or your outline placement, and that is where you're going to put your fabric. I'm going to use a light adhesive just to spritz the back of this fabric, just so it applies nice and neatly. Now, you don't want to get crazy with your spray because you don't want it to bleed through to your fabric. And then I am just going to slide this over that area where it told me to place the fabric. Just smooth it out. And then I'm going to slide this back onto the machine because I did slide it off. And then the next step is going to be the tack down outline. So what's going to happen is the embroidery machine is going to tack down this fabric using the same style stitching that it used for the placement outline. And once again, in between these steps, you must stop the machine. Otherwise, your embroidery machine will continue to go to the next step because it doesn't know how long you need to go from one step to the next in regards to moving the fabric or placing the fabric. And in this case, we're ready to move on to the next step, which is cutting the excess fabric away from the tack down line. So all this fabric needs to be cut away. Okay, so you have to now cut the excess fabric around, okay? And to do that, you want to use a good pair of scissors. I am using the Ginger brand or the Ginger brand, Ginger or Ginger brand Applique Scissors, okay? These are called duckbill scissors, and in my opinion, these are the best on the market. However, they are quite pricey. They are between $30 and $35. I generally will use a 50% off coupon, a 60% off coupon when I can. The only thing is these are typically on sale 30% off, so a lot of times you can't use it. So when they are regular price, you want to catch it. The only other alternative, you can find these Fiskars brand. They have like sort of like a curved edge. These are actually good. These are a good alternative. They don't last as long. They're about $10 or under in Walmart. You can find them also at Joann for $14.99, and you can use those 50% off coupons as well to get them under $10. Okay, so to cut the fabric, you want to make sure that you cut as close as you can to the edge here without cutting that tack down line. And to do so, I like to just kind of see where I'm going, lift it up, because especially if we've used some spray adhesive, and I like to get in there. Now again, I really like these duckbill scissors because it allows me to get right up against that edge like so, and you just want to cut all the way around, cut that excess fabric away from the applique patch. Okay, so you see how close that is? Okay, and I'm gonna do that all the way around, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so we are almost done here. I just wanted to just show you once again before I finalize cutting the excess fabric away. All right, so I'm going to hold it with one hand, and I'm just going to get my blade, my scissor blade, up nice and close up against that line, but I am not going to cut that tack down line, okay? And I'm just going to cut very carefully. Okay, and that's why using a good pair of scissors is important. And the best part about doing machine embroidery applique is that you can really do a patch or a shape in anything, basically anything, letters, numbers, images, cartoon characters, just everything. And it saves time on the embroidery process. So imagine if I had to embroider this whole area in the shape of the Pennsylvania state. It would be a lot. And so this didn't take long at all to cut out. Now we are going to put it back onto the machine. It is going to stitch down the raw edges because now these edges are raw. Okay, and then it's going to move on to the final part of the embroidery of stitching down embroidery machine satin stitches. I don't know why I'm getting tongue-tied today, but let's do it. Okay, so as you can see, it is moved on to the final process of embroidery machine applique. And it is stitching down the final stitches using a satin stitch. So we are about done here. We just have a little bit more left. And as you can see, this did not take long at all. And it saves time on the embroidery process. It will also save you money as a client. It will save your customers money in regards to applique versus a full-blown machine embroidered design. And so it's a win-win situation. And so there you have it. Okay, so we are done here. So as you can see, this process did not take long at all. It literally cuts down the time, in my opinion, 75% in most cases, depending on how big the applique is. And it is such a good alternative to, solid stitch embroidery, because sometimes too, when there's too many stitches, depending on where you are putting it, it can also make your fabric pucker or sag in, because the embroidery can be heavy. But these patches, I gotta tell you, is such a wonderful alternative. And so that is how you do a machine embroidery applique design. That's all I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Place a comment below. I'd like to see what you think about this process. If you are new to embroidery, why don't you join me over in Embroidery Boss? It is a group on Facebook for hobbyists and business owners. And if not, you can also just come visit me on Facebook at Kandia@Haynesworth.com. Until then, I'll see you next time.